There
Good
he is
evening. Good evening.
in the new digs.
In the new digs, it's still a huge mess here because
No, it
I've
looks
been
great. I love what you did with it.
I've been very busy, very, very busy with lots of other things, and I've only gotten to spend about an hour or two a day trying to get things organized here.
Okay.
So
Busy with
what
school and stuff like that.
school and things like that. And big news. I have big news, but
Yeah.
enough about me. What's going on with you?
Well, big news is you can't just drop that and walk away.
For the first time, I've had a script optioned.
Congratulations. Really? What
Yeah,
which is it? What is it? Is it the latest thing?
yeah, yeah.
Wow.
I mean, and with that option money, I can go buy 2/5 of a cup of coffee at Starbucks.
Well, that's a coffee you didn't have before, so
That's a
that's
coffee I
great.
didn't have before. Yeah,
That's really exciting.
yeah. I am excited,
Can you
but
say anything about it, or who it is, or what the
I don't know. I didn't ask. I didn't ask when we were going over it. Like if I can, I would imagine I could,
why don't
but
you play it safe and not say a
play it
thing?
safe. And next week I'll give more details if they are comfortable with me giving more details.
Yeah.
But
Hey, congratulations. That's fantastic, man.
uh, but for those people who are listening who don't know what that means, is that it means that there's somebody who wants to try to get the movie made. Um, so they're asking for the rights to go out there and approach people and be able to say, I have the rights to this, and I want to make it. Um, so it's nice. It's a little bit of affirmation, and we
That's
can all use a
fantastic.
little bit of affirmation.
Yeah, that's great. Did it come about because of that reading you did?
No, it actually came about through the university.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Um, so yeah, I'll give all the details next week. If they, I think they would be comfortable with me giving all the details, but I just want to make sure. I
I
can't
wouldn't say
imagine
a
why they
word
wouldn't.
until I've edited, but yeah,
Yeah,
but play it safe. That's
play it
great.
safe, but it's a very nice
Well,
thing.
it's a really funny script, and I'm really not surprised because it's a riot, and this thing should get done, and now's the time. It's
Yeah,
very
and
timely.
you gave me a lot of good advice on that script. So
Oh, I didn't. I was just the story ideas and some of the characters and
yeah,
some of the plot things that happened in it and the setting. I think those were just my contributions.
yeah, yeah, and the original idea and all. Yeah,
Well, the
basically, yeah.
demons, what the creatures in this movie
The
are and
creature,
things like,
yeah,
yeah, I did.
yeah,
Well, those were my ideas, but other
and
than that, no.
yeah, right. Uh, but so so there we go, and then yeah,
Well,
things.
that's great. Did that happen today or
It happened yesterday.
wow? And you're
Yeah,
celebrating with a nice IPA.
I'm celebrating with a nice IPA. That's right, a dank IPA,
Very exciting.
because I'm feeling very dankful. There, see what I did there?
I see it.
Yeah.
I step away from it.
Yes, I'll show myself out.
Take your hands off me, Hussifer.
Yeah. What's going on in on the East Coast?
Much the same as last week. Nothing really that new. Teaching, doing a lot of uh, Zoom auditions for helping other people Zoom audition. I'm not getting any, but I'm helping some friends and clients with their auditions and
Yep.
cutting together what they send me, and that's been good to have some work. But been home, kind of like working on class. Really, that's really but the focus has been because we just started last week, and
I think you have a lot of class.
uh, great. Well, cool. I thank you.
Um, so Brand new cherry flavor.
Did you finish the season?
I finished the season.
Did you enjoy it? You were creeped out the last time I talked to you.
I was thoroughly creeped out. I became a little less creeped out as it went on.
Mm-hmm.
And
it gets a bit more like a black comedy as it goes on in a way.
Yeah, and now I do have to listen to. I haven't yet, but I have to listen to your argument with Maddie Blake, because I could not tell by the end of it whether I loved it or was disappointed. I couldn't tell.
Who would I ask? Who should I ask? Can I call someone and ask them how you felt?
Yeah, because okay. I'm not certain how I feel about it right now.
Well, it's funny that I feel put on the spot because of your inability to access your own
my own emotional life.
Yeah, I mean, this is not my problem. I think the show's great, and everybody else seems to have hangups. I'm not alone. It's a hit show, but
you know that Eric Lang,
who plays the producer,
Eric Lang, has, from another show, I would say one of my top 10. He has a moment in another show that was one of my top 10 all-time favorite actor moments.
You never said this to me.
In the series Unbelievable with
Wait a minute. Didn't we see that for tonight?
No. Tonight is Unforgettable.
Oh, I forgot. I'm sorry.
Yes. Yeah. This was a series called Unbelievable, which was spectacular. And he had a moment in that, very simple actor moment, in that I was sitting alone in my apartment and he did something. It was a tiny, tiny little thing that he did. And I screamed. I couldn't, out of just awe at how masterfully he played a very profound moment in that show.
What kind of a scream was it? Can you? You don't have to do it, but was it like a shock?
I'll do it. Okay. I'll do it. I went. Oh!
Right. That's more of a shout. You shout. I think you shouted.
I shouted.
Screaming is like a very a different reaction.
Okay, it wasn't a scream. It was a shout of awe. It was one of those things where I hope to God I meet that actor someday so I can tell him that somebody noticed this very, because it was a kind of moment that I think if you weren't an actor, you would say, well,
guaranteed he's a subscriber and he's just heard you.
He's listening.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Eric, please say something in the comments so we know you're there and that you know that your work is appreciated.
We're not talking about that show tonight, but what can you express any feelings about why you don't know what you feel? Because that's not, to me, adequate for a talk show, which is this essentially is.
You mean because it's a talk show, I should say something?
It's a traditional way that these go, and I'm a traditional.
Now I feel on the spot. I felt a little bit that and maybe it's because they're going to continue next season with some of this, but I felt a little bit like, as far as the main character was concerned, she ended up being very morally ambiguous, but in a way that I didn't quite understand, if that makes any sense. I guess what I'm saying is I couldn't ascertain the point of view of the movie on her. I felt like they were not taking a stand. Does that make any sense? I mean, you could
you know what,
agree or disagree,
I
but
thought about this. I kind of disagree, because I think that, I don't know, it's possible. Do you think that part of it has to do with that this is a really untraditional kind of role for a woman? That we're really not used to seeing women inhabit that kind of space. That if a guy, a really dark character in a noir kind of LA thing, got wrapped up in this, would you be would we be asking that? Because I had the same thing. I felt very confused as to how I was supposed to feel about her. And then I was like, well, what if this was a young Ray Liotta? Or what if this was like, uh um had an Angel Heart kind of thing, where there was like that kind of a guy in the middle of it. I mean, I don't know. I really had to stop and ask myself, because she fits the bill for that kind of noir emptiness. The it's a revenge. She's full of revenge. She's really not a very likable. She's an anti-hero, like to the teeth. So I just think we're not. I don't know if we're used to seeing that from women performers as much, and it's just a bit of a shock.
except I couldn't tell like when she was victim and when she was the activator. There seemed to be
Well,
something about her past that was unexplored to me, where I kept feeling like I was getting hints that maybe she knew something about Boro and the past that we didn't know about yet. So that so I couldn't tell, was she victim or was she manipulator?
I thought she was both.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought she was both things at different times in the story. She was certainly a victim of the producer,
Yes.
and and Boro, and we don't want to spoil that show for people, because we weren't going to
No.
talk about it, on this, um, but all I can say is that when I covered the show with Maddie on P for Paranormal, I watched the pilot again, and it reinforced how much I liked it, and I got new things out of a second viewing, like real new thing, like things I hadn't noticed, because they're really quick and they happen in the very first 5 minutes, and you're just kind of like, oh, it's not just imagery. There's a lot of very
Right.
specific storytelling going on in those first 5 minutes that changed a bit of how I thought about the narrative and what was going on, and that might answer some of the questions that you have. I don't know. I also think that they're not done
Right. That's
telling
what
this
I'm hoping.
story.
That's what I'm hoping. And I certainly will watch season 2.
Good. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it enough to want to go back. I mean,
And I
Matt,
do
Matt,
think Rosa Salazar is
yeah,
spectacular.
she's dynamite. Eric Langstein is good. It's a good ensemble, and it's so, I don't want to keep going on about it, but
Right.
it recreated LA in the 90s in a spooky way for me. That was like, wow, that's really accurate. But cool. Brand new cherry flavor. Check it out. It's
Yeah.
worth it, no matter what
So
they say.
tonight we're talking about 1996's Unforgettable,
Yes.
or subtitled "What Would Happen If You Combined The Fugitive with Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde."
That's a great, yeah, that's right on.
Um, my question, though, regarding the title, is it?
Well, it's a dangerous thing to call your piece of work, your movie or your book or anything
Yeah.
like that. It's you should think what the critics, don't want to make it too easy for the critics when it comes
No,
out, right?
because they did. They made it really good.
Well, what's really ironic about the movie to me is that I I thought I'd seen it when we agreed to watch it for the show,
Right.
and I continued to think that maybe I had seen it, but I didn't know for sure the entire thing.
I think I might have seen this, but I think I might have seen Unforgettable, but I forgot.
I forgot if I
Yeah.
did. Quite literally, I couldn't, I can't tell you now if this was I think this was the first time I saw it, but it really does remind me of a lot of other movies. A lot of other
A
movies
lot
that
of
are a
other.
kind of like a big mass of 90s noir
Yeah.
that
And
all,
some of the movies it reminds you of are really bad. And some of the movies it reminds you of might have been good.
yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, it reminds me a little more of bad movies than of
But
good movies.
yeah. Yeah. So for what it's about, Ray Liotta, and we're gonna get into a lot here, but let me describe the plot as if it makes sense first, and then we'll go into some specifics. But Ray Liotta plays a medical examiner who works with the Seattle Police Department. Um, he was the prime suspect in his wife's murder. Not just the prime suspect, he was brought to trial in his wife's murder and got off because a rookie cop messed up a piece of evidence. That's all backstory. Now he is still a medical examiner for the Seattle Police Department and being called to a crime scene of a huge shooting in a liquor store, sees a piece of evidence that is similar to a piece of evidence at a matchbook that is distinctive, similar to a matchbook that was found at the scene of his wife's murder. And he believes, oh, I can go after there and get the guy. And then later, a few days later, because he's all doctory, he goes to a medical conference and listens to Linda Fiorentino, who is a very believable scientist, who is creating a thing. She's discovered that if you extract cerebral spinal fluid, or CFS, as CSF, as they say incessantly in the movie, from rats, you can transfer memory from one person to another. So Ray Liotta gets the brilliant idea of submitting himself as a human experiment, and he can use his wife's cerebral spinal fluid and see her last moments and find out who killed her. And hilarious hijinks ensue. And I don't know. We could go straight to talking about what movie we're going to talk about next week.
No, we can't do that. Okay. Yes. What is the most unforgettable thing about this movie for you?
The most unforgettable thing about this movie. Oh, it's hard to pick one. I think actually there is one moment in this movie that I was so happy that I saw. And that is that there's a moment where Ray Liotta wants to get something out of a lab, and the coroner is like, "I'll be right back," and says to his assistant, "Go get something from the other room."
Yeah, go replace the saw. The saw's broken. Go get a new saw.
The saw's broken. So the assistant goes into the other room to get a new saw blade. The coroner's gone, and Ray Liotta creeps into the coroner's lab to steal his wife's cerebral spinal fluid, or somebody's spinal fluid. And we cut to the coroner's assistant in the other room. Do you know the moment I'm talking about? And she's going about her business looking for the saw blade. And then we cut back to Ray Liotta, and he's going about his nefarious stealing of spinal fluid, and drops something. It makes a noise. And we cut to the assistant, like, giving an actory look of, did I hear
extreme
something?
And exaggerated, like.
And then a thing that actors that I tell my students never to do, she actually does I guess I didn't hear something.
Yeah,
and goes back about it. And I was like, oh my God, they actually told her indicate the entire thought process.
As if this wasn't clear sailing. We
It was,
know you dropped something, you're in the other room, you heard it. You don't have to elaborate. It's pretty clear. We've watched this kind of scene
yeah,
for 87 years in
it
movies.
was. The other thing that was my favorite thing in the movie was the red herring that is Chris McDonald's mustache. They actually used a mustache as a red herring because he has a mustache at the beginning of the movie that screams, "This is the guy who's really the killer."
True. True. Well, it's one of those movies where everybody's a suspect at some point, right?
No, I
Everybody
was
kind of
sure
is.
it was Chris McDonald because of that freaking mustache.
That's an evil mustache.
Yeah. And then
And
it's not him.
he was cast as bad guys a lot back then. I mean, first full stop, what a career this man has had in his life.
Oh, yeah.
He's in everything. Everything. And playing guys like this very often. I feel like
All
I
the
saw
time.
him play, kind of, mean-spirited cops a lot. I don't know if he's a mean-spirited guy himself. He's probably not.
And actually, he is not. I can tell you from firsthand experience, I worked with him.
Yeah.
Lovely. And we had to do a scene where he was cross-examining me, and we had to really go at it. And
And this was a sex scene.
no, no, in a courtroom.
Oh, I'm
scene.
sorry.
When
Whoa,
he
that
was,
was weird. I'm
no,
sorry.
no.
I don't know what that
I
was.
said he was cross-examining me, and we had to really go at it.
Okay.
And they were going to be shooting it with several cameras. So the director had said, "You guys can overlap. You can overlap and cut each other off. We don't need it clean." Going back to your comment.
That's why I said I'm ahead of you,
Yeah,
man.
yeah, absolutely. And he, unlike the way a lot of series regulars behave, he at lunch said, "Hey, you want to grab your lunch and come to my trailer so that we can play
Work on the scene.
work on the scene." And for those of you who are listening in the podcast, Tony and I are very busy with air quotes. No, and we, but he wanted to run it and get it, get the heat up, as it were.
Isn't that a shame how rare that is, that you
Yeah.
meet an actor that wants to do that?
Yeah.
I'm usually, it would happen more if I had bigger roles, because then if you have a big role on a show, you can instigate that, but you can't go to somebody who's a regular on a show when you're a day player and
No.
go, you want to work on the scene?
Yeah. No, you can't. So that's why it was such a thrill that he actually, because I was only there for one day. And the fact that he came to me and said, "Hey, come, let's go work on
That's
this,"
really cool.
was just great. He is also on kind of my short list for who would play the.
He fits into your screenplay world really well, man.
He'd be great as the dad.
Perfect.
He'd be.
I mean, that's perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a great idea.
I told the producer that yesterday, that he'd be on my wish list.
Brilliant idea.
But yeah, he.
I was thinking initially that Kim Cattrall would be someone you'd choose for that part, but I'm wrong. I think this guy would be better.
Yeah. Kim Cattrall. That's right. She was in this movie. I forgot.
There's so many things that I have to keep to try to remember about.
Well,
this
I had to write down
experience.
a lot of things so that I wouldn't forget them.
Okay. Can I start off with one thing?
Please.
Okay. I thought for a good 35 to 40 minutes that I might be seeing a decent movie.
Oh,
I thought I might be. Like don't get me wrong, not like you got to see it, not like this is an undiscovered gem, but that this might be kind of like an overlooked oddity that was actually kind of well made, because it's nicely shot. I want to say that it's got some beautiful, camera work in it. The city looks great, the way they shoot it. And it's a very 90s thing, but for a while I was like, okay, I'll roll with this. And there was a point where it fell completely apart. Like it just got to a certain point, and then it face planted, and it just went completely crazy. I think that happened earlier for you than it did for me, but I gave this the benefit of the doubt. I think until until he was in a tuxedo and went to steal steal the stuff.
That was a problem. That
I
became
think
a problem.
I was I was willing to go for it for a while, but then no.
Well, before we get into all of the big problems, and do I have a list? Because this is my wheelhouse. This is the world that in my head I live in. I live in the police procedural world. I spend a lot of my time there. I don't know if you knew that.
I know that you have a very secret life. You're like Elmore Leonard.
Yeah,
you creep around at night and you follow cops around, and it's your thing.
I spend a lot of time in my head in that thing.
I think the fact that you're calling this police procedural is a little misguided. Perhaps that this is not really the genre this is like sci-fi light. This is like sci-fi thriller. Really.
It is, but it is a sci-fi set in the world of police procedure.
Sure.
So the moment you say to me, we have a medical examiner who was accused and brought to trial in his wife's murder, and the only reason he got off was because a piece of evidence was mishandled, but we're still going to let him work for the police department and have access to the evidence room, you've lost me.
I understand the reason why. Okay, well, you got, in my opinion, you got to let it make a case for it. That's a fantasy move. That's crazy. That doesn't happen. But I think there could be a case for a movie that was really like inspired by a 40s Fritz Lang movie. That's a very like 40s noir or 40s espionage Fritz Lang kind of thing to do, where his name was cleared, so he's back at work, but then he's haunted by it was like a classic enough dumb move for me to go, all right, I'll table that. I guess I had a similar problem early on, but it was from where I always get derailed, which is Ray Liotta as a doctor. Really?
Yeah. Well, there's that, and Linda
and from Seattle,
and like, from Seattle.
No,
yeah. But then there's also Linda Fiorentino, who and a hand to God, I'm a Linda Fiorentino fan.
I know.
I think she is spectacular. A meek scientist, no, not for a moment.
It was a little bit off, and I mean, this is an oddly cast film. Why cast Peter Coyote as a police captain? That is an odd move.
Yeah.
As well as why are you casting Lindsey Buckingham as a serial killer? It's odd.
Wait a minute. You didn't like Kim Coates?
Oh, I thought that was Lindsey Buckingham.
No, that's Kim Coates. I love Kim Coates.
Oh, that's right. Sorry. I thought he looks exactly. Honestly, he looks exactly like Lindsey Buckingham. When he showed up in this
in Gotcha. Did you ever see Gotcha with Linda Fiorentino and Anthony Edwards?
Yeah, I did see Gotcha.
That's the kind of a femme fatale. I'll watch her play a femme fatale all day long.
A femme fatale?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you got The Last Seduction too, which was great.
Yeah.
After Hours, I didn't remember she was in that, but Last Seduction is great. But that's why, one of the things about this though, when was Last Seduction? See, there's something about this that makes me like the movie though, because I know that John Dahl directed Last Seduction and then obviously really liked her and brought her into the next project. Like there was something considered about that. It wasn't good casting necessarily or on point casting, but at least You okay? Do you need to take a break?
For those of you listening on the podcast, I'm making a face at what Tony is saying now.
Boy, I'm getting beaten up. Why? What? Nobody likes me anymore.
No,
Why?
I love you. I think you're being. I admire the generosity with which you are approaching this movie.
How about okay, generosity, but how about intelligence? I mean, that's their connection there. They worked together before. He also works for the same editors and the same DP a lot. He's John.
But I would argue that I think you're great. I love your work. You're wrong for this movie might have been a better call on his part.
You're misunderstanding. You are a black and white customer. I'll tell you that much. It's like a piano keyboard over here. One or the other. All I'm saying is that this is not a good. I'm saying I agree. It's terrible casting, but I have a warmer feeling about it because it's not just a studio move of arbitrariness. She was considered by John Dahl, who's done some good stuff and some not some good stuff, but the desire to form a relationship with her and give her work because I'm a fan and he liked working with her made me feel better about the movie than if it was just some rant. Okay, obviously my positivity is not clicking with your peanut butter right now.
I'm listening.
It's the last positive thing I'm going to say. Thank God this is an old movie because we'd never work again. I don't know.
I'm thinking of all kinds of things to say about this that I can't say on the air.
Okay, so you're denying the fact that you're saying to me that John Dahl is you're kind of dismissing him entirely, and I think that's
no.
Okay.
I'm not dismissing him entirely.
The fact that he hires the same people again because he likes working with them doesn't resonate with you at all. It's just got to be. You've got to be perfect. I don't care what I feel about you. You are dead to me as a person, but I just want to use your talent. That's the pure way. I just want to know what the rules are.
Oh, no, but I mean, I look, I love you like a brother, right? Strangely enough. But I would fully expect you if somebody gave you $10 million to make your movie, I would really hope that you would cast me if I was right for something. And I would also really hope that because we obviously like working together because we do on this show and nobody is paying us a dime and we keep doing it anyway. But I would also hope that I would understand that if I wasn't right for something and wasn't going to make your movie better, that I would not be hurt if you didn't cast me. And I would hope that you wouldn't cast me in your movie just because I was your brother.
All I'm saying, and I hear you, and I agree with what you're saying artistically. All I'm saying is that there was something about this movie I wanted to like because I like John Dahl's ethic. I like Linda Fiorentino. I like Ray Liotta. I like all these ingredients.
All of them. Yes, I wanted to like it too.
My point is, I understood that she was miscast, but I was rooting for this, even though I knew she was miscast, and I was sad that it just didn't happen. But I really, ultimately, I don't think this is a casting problem because I don't think anybody could have played these roles at a certain point. There is so much nonsense going on in this script that nobody can make sense of that. Who would you really actually cast in that part? Isn't it better to just go like, I've worked with her. She's great. She's a femme fatale. It's a noir movie. Just let's get her. I don't care if she looks like a microbiologist or not.
So actually the error you're saying it was in the, yes, I'll do this movie stage.
Was in the decision to make the film.
Okay. If we go with that, then yes, cast her because if this is going to be a piece of shit, then I want to make a piece of shit working with people I enjoy spending time with. I will totally support that decision.
Look, she might have been miscast. She didn't ruin this for me. She wasn't the thing that ruined it.
No, not by a long shot.
Not
by a long. It was the thing she had to do that ruined it.
Yeah. I mean, she's forced to do some close-up reaction shots in this thing that are just like, oh, just don't make her do that.
Well,
anymore.
she is forced to say the line, "Is that all you care about?"
Yeah.
Which made me want to cry in that moment that the writer had put that in. Another line that made me want to cry was
Are you crying now?
yeah. Now you listen to me, Crane. I was keeping an eye on Bodner.
There was good stuff there.
When Coyote had to say, "Now you listen to me, Crane."
Yeah. This movie is one of those movies that they did in the 80s and the 90s. It was a carry through into the 90s where remember this thing where like somebody was the best at what they do.
Yeah.
I don't like you, man, but you're the best at what you do, and we've got to have you on. It's like these words have never been spoken by any police captain or anyone anywhere. No one's the best at what they do. They're either cheap or they're available. It's the two considerations.
Has there ever been a scene more awkward than the scene where he meets Linda Fiorentino at the...
It's quintessentially awkward. It looks hard for him to be in a tuxedo. You know, that doesn't really work well. You know, she doesn't look like she believes she's been cast as a scientist in that scene.
Yeah.
It's amazing that he would go to that party. None of it made any sense. But at that point, I still felt like it was I still thought it knew its ridiculousness.
Yeah.
I thought it was riffing on like a kind of a fantastical, almost like Hitchcock fever dream, not reality kind of, you know, fantastical noir, like just not really believable. But I thought they knew that, and I thought that was part of the movie for a while. You know what I mean? So like in the same way as like, you know, some of Hitchcock stuff, like you North by Northwest, or you don't necessarily literally believe it, but you're like, it's just ridiculous.
I'm going to go along for the ride. Yeah.
And it turns out they weren't aware of that, and they didn't capitalize on that. From my perspective, that's all I'm saying.
I hear you. Do you want to hear a list of things that just a list of things?
Well, we could do that. Maybe somebody from the audience could say if they want Matthew to do a list of things, or what I want is really of no concern.
Well, we do have this then we can go to our studio audience. Bet Bowles has pointed out that you're wearing those dark glasses tonight, and you're scary for your comments, she says.
Well, Bet, thanks for noticing. Yeah, I spent a lot of time in front of the computer today, as I often do, editing and Zoom teaching and stuff. And my eyes are tired. They're just tired. Yeah. And I think, you know, I think it may help lend the show an air of mystery that it needs desperately.
Yeah, because the movie certainly didn't.
But I'm sorry it comes across as scary, Bet. That's not intentional. I'm just trying to have some eye strain, and I'm trying to, you know, boost the cool factor a little bit at the same time. It's not, I know it's not working. Reminded me a little DOA, little Minority Report. Like, yeah. I feel like same DNA here.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
So problems. Problems.
I like the way you do. You start with the negative stuff, and then you move your way into the negative stuff that you didn't like.
Yeah. But I have a couple of things, nice things that I liked that I'll get to later. But I want to get the negative stuff out of the way. Yes, I do think that the security guard at the evidence room would help a man suspected of murdering his wife to access the evidence room. Mm-hmm. I do think that would happen in the real world.
Right.
I also do think that if Kim Cattrall's sister was murdered, and that sister had said that she was having an affair with a cop and she wanted to call it off right before she was murdered, it might have occurred to Kim Cattrall that maybe the cop was the murderer.
She might have said that. Yeah, she might.
She
But
might
then,
have said something about that beforehand. Another thing, I am a medical examiner. I think I'll just pick up this gun that has just been fired, probably killed someone, and has fingerprints on it. I think I'll do that.
Can I stop you for 1 second?
Yeah.
I'd like you to continue, but I just want to say what's amazing about making a stupid mistake like that in a movie,
Yeah,
wherein there isn't any repercussion. He just does a stupid thing, but it's not even really a plot. They don't even use it as a plot thing. He didn't really need to take that gun at all.
Yeah. Yes, the evidence from his wife's murder case would still just be sitting out there on a shelf right inside the front door of the evidence room.
Oh, they don't clean up that stuff. They keep all the
they
tape
leave
on
it,
the floor, and the
it's all-
powder burns and all of it. Yeah.
Oh,
the blood,
okay.
everything has to stay there
I did not
forever.
know that.
No, you're not allowed. It's like a mattress tag. You're not allowed to ever take that off.
Okay. And after the explosion at her lab, when he showed up,
which she handles without any suspicion or concern, she seems pretty cool about it.
A great deal of equanimity. And he shows up, and I did not for a moment see it coming that he would ask her if there was any of the formula left. I didn't see that coming for a moment, that would be the thing he would ask.
Did you think maybe she would have some, though, if he did ask?
I suspected there would be a vial left.
Yeah. It was pretty exciting, though, when it turned out there was one.
Yeah. And then when he can't take the formula anymore because his heart will explode, so she volunteers to take it for him.
Yeah.
And he says to her, okay, but because the guy whose memory we're accessing had committed suicide, I have to duct tape your arms to the chair so you don't hurt yourself. I did not see it coming for a moment that he wasn't actually going to let her take the formula, that he was going to take it himself. I did not see that.
That's hardly a complaint. I mean, I have to be somewhat critical of your list because you're just listing things, and I'm going to have to say things about the list. And I don't feel that is a terrible. I don't think that's a terrible thing. That was acceptably stupid. It was an acceptable level of stupidity. The rest of that scene, no, I don't think.
Okay. What about the modern day medical examiner using an old-timey Dr. Jekyll needle to inject himself?
That's again, I'm like, that fits into the crazy, fantastical, silly movie I thought this was going to be, instead of becoming the vapid, turgid, overlong, bloated, nonsensical thing that it would.
Yeah, except everything else in the movie is realistic, and then they borrow the hypodermic needle from the steampunk movie they're shooting next door.
I got you. That was dumb. It was dumb, but still, again, let's put it this way. I feel like that was a dumb mistake that I probably could have made as a director. I probably could have made that mistake.
Did you notice that he has a pouch that has both surgical tools and burglar's tools in it? Just happens to walk around with those?
I didn't know what to do. I don't break into houses, so I didn't know what to do.
All right. You want me to go into things that I like now?
No, keep going with things you don't like. This is awesome.
I think I've covered the things I don't like. Well, some of these are things that were not good, but that I liked anyway, even though they were not good.
Well, yeah, I have fondness for this. I mean, none of this made me angry. I did laugh a lot. You know what I mean? Like, there's some movies that do this stuff and I get angry, and this one didn't make me angry. I thought it was this ludicrously stupid, and I enjoyed myself. I could see watching this movie again. That's the sick part. Like, I know I'll watch this again someday.
I could watch it again now, same way you watch Valley of the Dolls a second time, right?
Yeah, I just
wait, here it comes. Watch this. Yeah.
I mean, because it's a group of people I like a good director, good cast, and then you got like people like David Paymer, and David Paymer has one of the more embarrassing moments.
Oh
And
my.
like he's a great actor, David Paymer. Why does he get it? Why do you make him look bad? There's no reason for that. That's just mean.
Oh yeah.
He has one of those classics. Hey, what?
Yeah.
Hey, wait.
Okay. I will say, okay, there was a fun moment that Linda Fiorentino has where she realizes when they first have met and she realizes he's the guy who was suspected of killing his wife, and he comes to her lab and she's about to shut the door of her lab, and then she thinks better of it. There was a nice little fake that she did there.
Right.
I liked that. I thought there was very good stunt work in the drugstore shooting. Some of that stunt work impressed me.
Yeah, that was pretty good. Yeah, that was okay. That was a fairly effective sequence, but I mean, then it's like then you got the stunt work between Liotta and was it McNamara?
Kim Coates?
No,
McDonald?
not Kim Coates. Yeah, when they're fighting in the sergeant's office, it's the worst. It's like worse than Star Trek fighting. Yeah. They basically clasp hands above each other's heads and they just start dancing. And then they cut away to a wide from behind, like back in the office, and you see them. It's supposed to be two like enraged men going at each other, and then it looks like it's like a dance class.
Okay, I only have one more moment that I want to talk about, and this truly was my favorite moment in the entire movie. The happy janitor.
The happy janitor.
Do you remember the happy janitor?
Well, it's I guess not.
Before the lab explodes. They cut to the college research building, and it's the middle of the night, and there's a janitor pushing one of those rolling garbage cans down the hallway, and he is singing something. I forget what song he's singing. He's singing it loud, and he's unbelievably happy. And he walks into her lab, and then we cut to the outside of the building, and the lab explodes.
So why do they have him in there? Why do you think he's there?
It was a
loss of human life.
Loss of human life, that whoever blew up the lab, whoever the bad guy is, doesn't, but it was just a way of transitioning us into they had to get us into the lab.
Hell yeah.
Because if you just did an establishing shot of the building from outside, it wouldn't make sense.
It would just be like Zabriskie Point all of a sudden. You'd be like, why? Yeah. There's just a building exploding.
Right. Yeah. But the fact that they decided, let's have the janitor be happier than any janitor has ever been, singing to himself as he goes into the lab.
I was still trying to figure out if that was Peter Coyote or not that we'd seen creeping around.
Oh, well, okay. I forgot. I did have one other note. And this is something that I thought was done extremely well, is that if I was that convinced that it was everything else about the movie was so bad that I was convinced that McDonald was the killer, because
you think like that would be the stupid. There would be no.
Well, the ineptness of the whole movie made me think that the red herrings about him were just that they weren't red herrings. That it was just more of the ineptness of the filmmaking, that they gave away who it is just so obviously at the beginning.
Yeah, I agree. I was the same way.
I was like, holy shit, it's not him. So maybe all of the other ineptness in the filmmaking was actually brilliance.
Maybe.
Because it convinced us that McDonald was.
So you've come full circle. You're where I was at the beginning.
I think this movie is brilliant.
I'll tell you though, Amelia called it.
Peter Coyote. She called Peter Coyote.
But we're just going to give it up for people, just so they know. Huh? On this, we're just going to give away the.
This is a spoiler movie. This is a spoiler show. This is a show where we're.
This is a whodunit, though. This is like a whodunit, but we know. Now we know who did it.
Well, but they'll have forgotten by the time they
No
see
doubt they will.
Unforgettable.
No doubt. I have a favorite thing in the movie.
What's that?
I'm particularly fond of the fantastic computer graphics that say that the paternity test came through.
No, I've seen those. Those are what they
That's what
actually.
that
I've
looks
seen
like.
them many, many times. I've had to go through that.
That was
And
amazing. Giant blaring banner that says
you're not the
paternity.
father. Yeah,
It's fantastic.
yeah.
Other than Lindsey Buckingham, there wasn't anybody else I liked in it. No.
No, really.
What's your favorite line? Do you have a favorite line?
The favorite line was now you listen to me, Crane. I was keeping an eye on Bodner.
Okay. This has, I think, the worst last line of any film I've ever seen.
What was the last line? See, it is forgettable.
The last line, again, the last thing in the movie makes very little sense to me. He's perhaps dead in a coma, maybe not. Maybe he's going to live. We don't really know.
Right.
And he's having a dream, not a flashback. He's had these, induced flashbacks, but there's a lot of other imagery in this movie that is like kind of a flashback, but not really. And it's more like a dream, and it's seen from perspectives and the flashbacks are seen from perspectives that the person in it didn't see it from too. It's just crazy. But he sees his dead wife again, right?
Yeah.
And there seems to be some weird healing taking place.
Yeah.
So on some level, he's in a dream state because she's dead. But he sees her, and they're in a park, and it's the fall, and the kids are playing.
I remember the last line.
And she says, "Want some cider?"
Yeah. Yeah.
And
perfect.
I'm like, you literally come full stop. You're like, what did she say? Cider? Are they drinking cider? Why did they mention cider? Is that a thing from their relationship that we heard about that is supposed to come back to this moment? Why is it cider? It's fall, but I don't see any pumpkins. Like, there's nothing about it that made any sense. And then he says no and walks away with the two kids and lets her die. I guess he comes to some peace about this.
Oh, well, no, what I took from the ending, what's happening, they just don't show us the next scene, is that he's
drinking cider.
No, he's maybe going to die, maybe not, right? And I think she's come to him and said, I'm going this way towards Deathland. You turn around and go the other way because our girls still need you. So you have to live. And so the next scene, which I thank the dear baby Jesus in whom I don't believe they did not show, is him waking up. But I think that's what happens next, that he wakes up and lives to take care of their daughters.
Well, you're just making that up, though. That's just what you want to think. It's not in the movie. He's in a dream, and he walks into a death zone into a graveyard with his two children.
No, because his two daughters are still alive, so he chooses.
And he's trapped with the memory of, or it could be that he's lost it's everything's memory for him. So this could be him going into his own death with just a memory of making peace with his wife's death, and then walking off into the distance with two CGI created little girls.
No, I think that I think the intention, the story intention was because if that she's going in one direction and he's taking the hands of his girls and walking towards life.
So you're saying the end is the same as the movie Inception?
No, Inception, don't we find out that he is in a coma?
No,
permanently?
I'm talking about the last shot, like the last shot
of the thing spinning, of the top spinning. Yeah. But that shot of the top spinning lets us know that he's in a permanent coma, right?
No, it doesn't answer it one way or another. It doesn't fall. The point is that the top doesn't fall over. They cut
Right.
out before we know whether he's dreaming or not.
Oh, I see.
The movie ends before it falls, because it falling over is the thing that I think proves to him he's in the real world, but it does it
Oh,
just keeps going. I thought that was my take on it anyway. Anyway, look, I'm not a big fan of that either. So what the hell? But Lonesome Cider is the worst final line I think I've ever heard.
it wouldn't be as bad. I mean, maybe if the movie, like if it was Cider House Rules, you could have that as the last line.
Completely normal line to have in a film like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or a commercial for cider. For
Or
apple cider.
it wiggled and wriggled and tiggled in cider.
Stop. Don't do that anymore. The ending of this, I would like to talk about the phenomenal. You were talking about the stunt work, and I'm wondering if you would like to explain even how they achieved the amazing fight sequence between Ray Liotta and Peter Coyote at the end of this movie. How did they do it? How did these two men work out such an incredible action fight scene that was the culmination of this whole film? That was the big ending. That's something I'd like to discuss. I mean, not since The Bone Collector have we seen a movie that ended with two just out of shape men kind of flopping on each other. I don't know what the hell they thought was happening. At least they set the set on fire in this one. And The Bone Collector, there was just somebody rolling around on top of Denzel Washington, which isn't as exciting as you think it's going to be.
Oh man. And you thought I was being harsh on this movie before.
I reached the limit. As I said, I was very open-hearted to it for the first 40 minutes. And then I'm like, no, sir, no.
Oh my gosh. This. Then
I love Peter Coyote. Why do you have to make him be bad in a movie? That's not his fault.
Yeah. I
noticed something interesting. I love Ray Liotta too. Like I'm a big Ray Liotta nut since what was that first movie he did? I'm terrible with
Goodfellas.
No, not Goodfellas.
Badfellas.
You're killing me.
Field of Dreams.
No, I'm embarrassing myself right now.
The Ray Liotta story.
No, stop it. I'm gonna have a whole long break here while I look this movie up. Like something wild.
I'll edit it out. Oh, that's right. He was in Something Wild with that actor who became Jeff Daniels.
Mm-hmm. Love him, but oddly, like, not a good physical actor. Really, I was surprised. I was actually surprised. He's not. He's no Mel Gibson. He's not. He's no Steve McQueen. That's all I'm saying.
No.
You got nothing to say to that. You have nothing to say.
I am a Ray Liotta fan as well. And as I was watching this movie, I became unsure as to why.
Well,
it's just, this movie just didn't serve anybody well.
When you have a cast that's actually full of people you ordinarily really like, and none of them are doing good work. None of them are really great, and some of it is terrible. There's a problem with the script or the director or something that happened on the set. I think it's not them, but I mean, who doesn't want to?
Maybe it was bad craft service. You never know.
Seattle. Seattle in the 90s had, they probably had some good craft service.
Yeah, they should.
Crab cakes and espressos, and I'm making it up, but I would think so.
Yeah, I was in Seattle in the 90s working, and I had great food there.
Me too. I don't know what they're complaining about. This whole thing is ridiculous.
They got to get over
Lindsey
themselves.
Buckingham is a guitarist. He's not a serial killer. I don't
No.
know how many times I have to tell you.
All right. And on that note, we'll figure out what movie we're going to do next week, and we'll do it.
Well, don't sound too excited about it.
I am excited. It's going to be better than this movie.
Oh God. All right. We're not going to give anybody the heads up on what movie to watch.
Do you have an idea?
No, not really.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Yeah. They don't need a heads up. It's not like we've got 14,000 people watching for the coming attractions.
That's true.
Yeah. So we'll reconvene and we'll figure out what the heck we're going to do.
Not a problem. No, I don't have a problem with that at all.
We'll see you all next week.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.